Good evening and welcome to our final broadcast at Brunel University. Throughout the night we saw Boris Johnson and John McDonnell, who were both re-elected at the count here in Uxbridge.
We still don't know who might form a government, which is astonishing given the fact that the elections were called only 6 weeks ago and that the Conservatives were supposed to win by a landslide. And this is probably what the Prime Minister was expecting as well.
We are here with Maurice Walsh, a historian, Mavish Maghrabi, a politics student, and Romaria Makala St. Louis, a history and politics student. So my first question is for Romaria. A lot of predictions said that it would have been a Labour meltdown, but instead they had a surge. What do you think what had happened?
We can explain Labour's rise to power. What I can hope it will be is because that, they underestimated the message that Corbyn had for the average voter. He was very relatable to the general voter, and the message of fear and uncertainty that was peddled out by the Conservative Party, it just didn't stick. And so we can call this sort of politricks in fashion. Labour decided to get their act together, with the recent ousting of Diane Abbott. It's showing clear, concise leadership. Additionally, I do believe that Corbyn, as I said before, he was relatable, and the people have decided what they wanted.
Mavish, UKIP has dropped seats. What happened there?
Well, yes, no, it's true. The voting share for UKIP has dropped, and what we can see is that most of the UKIP supporters have turned to Labour, so the Labour gains can also partially be attributed to the loss in UKIP's voting share, because Labour was, as it's commonly known, they were attracting their message to the common white working class man, and for them, Labour's message was holding true to them, so that obviously they went out and voted for Labour. Now, it's also true what Romario said as well, that fear politics does not work very well, so people thought that voting for Labour will be a better option for a better future for themselves instead of UKIP.
Sure, and another question for you. Compared to 2015 general elections, the Lib Dems seem to have revived somewhat. So, any comments?
Yes, it's still a bit of a shock, but I'm not entirely surprised. Now, looking back in hindsight, I'm not surprised, because in 2015, the Liberal Democrats, they lost a lot of seats, mainly due to their coalition with the Conservative government. They were, to put it lightly, they were thrown under the bus for all the failures that the Conservative government put forward in their time in government. So now, with the Brexit looming, the Liberal Democrats, they're appealing to the Remain voters, and the Remain voters see them as a source of support and a source, like a way to make sure their voice is heard in the negotiations on whoever's leading the government.
Sure.
So, Romario, can you tell me what happens now?
Well, what we could see is, we're not going to have a majority government form. So what's likely to happen is that there'll be a minority coalition. And so we could see Labour, well, Jeremy would have to renege on some of his promises. He did say that he wouldn't team up with SNP, and Lib Dems have said that they won't form a government with anybody. They won't be in partnership or a coalition. So what we could see is the Labour and the Greens coming together, and I don't know how Jeremy's going to do it, but he's somehow going to have to fulfil certain promises to SNP, maybe a second referendum in Scotland, and he's going to have to maybe team up with some of the parties in Northern Ireland to sort of form a grand coalition of sorts, but not with the Conservatives. But we'll have to see.
I would have to slightly disagree there, actually. I do not believe there will be a minority coalition. I believe that the Conservatives won't gain a majority. At this point, with only 35 seats left to declare, they will not gain a majority. But they will have a significant lead, and I think that they will be willing to do a coalition with potential parties like the DUP, which I feel we'll touch upon in a bit. But I don't think it'll be a minority coalition.
I would like to ask Maurice more about this. So if the Conservative Party fall over majority votes, they might look at the Democratic Unionist Party in the Northern Ireland. Do you think it's possible?
Yes, I mean, Northern Ireland is outside the mainstream of the UK. You don't get Conservative and Labour running in Northern Ireland. The politics of Northern Ireland are determined essentially by the events of 100 years ago, when part of Ireland broke away from the United Kingdom and Northern Ireland remained within the United Kingdom, the people in Northern Ireland who wanted to remain in the United Kingdom at that time, the Unionists, were very closely supported by the Conservative government 100 years ago. And in fact, the title of the Conservative Party is the Conservative and Unionist Party. So the Conservative Party can rely very much on the votes of the Unionist Party that's dominant in Northern Ireland at the moment. The Democratic Unionist Party, they did very well. They now, I think, have 10 seats. They increased their vote. And so they may well be the key to the Conservatives holding on as a minority government with support from the backbenchers from the Democratic Unionist Party.
Do you think that's the most likely thing to happen now?
I think it could. It is the most likely thing. I think it's very hard, I think, to see how Labour could form a coalition given that the other parties, but it certainly looks as if one real possibility is that there will be another election in a very short time, because the minority government won't have enough support, especially given the huge decisions that Britain is facing now, the Brexit negotiations. What Theresa May went into this election wanting was a big majority, a big mandate. A minority government doesn't have a very clear mandate, so how is it going to negotiate in Europe? So it may well be that there could well be another election. The last time something like this happened, over 40 years ago in Britain, there was an election, there were 2 elections in the same year, and we can't at this stage rule that out again.
Well, thank you very much, Maurice. Thank you, Mevish, and thank you, Mario. And thank you, everyone, for following throughout the night. This has been a tremendous political evening, which I don't know is going to form our new government. This is our last broadcast for tonight, but you can still follow our updates on G17 News.
Thank you.
And good morning.
Good morning.